Hey, you guys. Welcome to Talk About It Thursdays. I am your host, Karen Bailey. Let me know when you're on. I would love to say hello to everybody. Happy Thursday. I hope you guys are having a great week. It has been a busy week. It has been a challenging week for your girl over here. But you know what? I'm still standing and I'm still smiling and I'm still believing that God's going to do exactly what he said he's going to do. You guys, I'm not going to be before you long today. Our topic today was unapologetically me. You know, sometimes we feel like we have to be something else to be accepted by everybody else. But I want to encourage you as we're on this journey of self-discovery, this journey of loving ourselves more, respecting ourselves more, that we stop apologizing for being the person that God created us to be. Hey, Shelly. Hey, Wendy. And that's why I came up with this topic. You know, so many times we shrink ourselves just to try to fit in with everybody else. Everybody has an opinion about us, and I'm not really sure why, what it is about us, that we care so much about what other people think about us. But we do. We all do. You know, I don't know if it starts when we're little. You know, you always want to be accepted, you know, by everybody in school. You wanted to be the one that was invited to the friends groups. You wanted to be the one that was picked for the athletic teams. You know how back in the day they used to let two people be the captain and everybody else had to stand up against the wall and they got to choose who they wanted from the wall. You did not want to be that last person. You did not want to be that last man standing that nobody seemed to want, but they just had to take you anyway because they needed you on their team. So it starts when we're little, how we're trying to fit in with everybody else. We're trying to make sure we're accepted by everybody else. But today I want to talk about us as individuals, not worrying about who likes us, who don't like us, who's got something to say about us. Let's forget all of that today. Today I want to talk about us as individuals. So my goal today is just to remind you that authentic people are very rare. You know, most of us don't know a handful of people who are really who they say they are, that really do what they say they're going to do, that are sincere from their heart. That is a very rare thing. That's why society and social media tries to get us to conform to being just alike, because the enemy knows how rare it is to be an authentic person. And so if he can get you to think that you have to change who you are, you have to change how you look, you have to change how you walk and how you talk to fit in, you lose your value to yourself. The only way you're valuable to yourself is to be the person that God created you to be and not apologize for it. You know, I was really bad about that, and sometimes I have to catch myself. You know, I want to speak up on some things, and then sometimes I find myself being quiet when I should, you know, make a comment or object to something simply because I don't want to rock the boat. But on the inside, you have this conflict, and then later on you say, I should have said something. I don't know why I allowed them to keep doing that. I didn't like that. You know, I should have told them that I was uncomfortable with that. And so that's a hard thing to do because you're going to get opposition. Anytime you speak up against something that everybody else is accepting, you're going to be considered the problem. They're going to look at you like you're the problem. But if we're ever going to be true to ourselves, we have got to stop just allowing people to do anything, to say anything, to act any way around us, and to treat us any kind of way. And we have to be prepared for that opposition. But it's worth it. It's worth it if you're being true to yourself. Hey, Denise. And then authenticity is the thing that I want to talk about. And basically that's living in alignment with your truest self, whoever that is, whatever that looks like to you, whatever it feels like to you, your truest self, where you look back and say, you know what? I'm glad I said something. I'm glad, I didn't change how I talk or how I act just to try to fit in with other people. God made us all as individuals, and people are not going to like us all the time. But you have to be okay with that. That doesn't always mean that you're the problem. Sometimes people have their own issues. They come into your presence with an issue that has nothing to do with you. But a lot of times we try to fit in, and we try to shrink, and we try to conform to make other people happy. But at the end of the day, the only person you're sacrificing is yourself. So that's what I want to talk about today, because I encourage you to be you even when nobody likes you. Be yourself when nobody likes you. Be yourself when people make fun of you. Be yourself when people talk about you. Be yourself, because one thing about you, nobody can do you but you. And that's the thing about it. God created all of us as individuals. So whatever your truest self is, that's what God created. It's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. Everybody's not going to like you. But that's okay. That's why you have to really work on loving yourself. Because there's going to be times when you don't feel your best. There's going to be times when it hurts. When people don't invite you to things because they don't like your personality or they don't like the way that you look. That's going to hurt a little bit. But when you've built up your self-love, at the end of the day, you understand that people don't really matter anyway. It's how you feel about yourself and how you feel about God that matters. Because we already know, God says in His words that we are more precious than rubies to Him. So there ain't nothing you can do to make God not love you. He already loves you. He already adores us. It's the love of man that trips all of us up. It's the love of being popular. It's the love of being accepted by imperfect people. And God had to remind me, all those times you cried about what somebody said about you, or you let people upset you, or you got mad at imperfect people. Those people are not perfect. Those people have things wrong with them. You may not know it. Somebody knows it. So you cannot allow imperfect people to make you feel bad about yourself. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous, but we all do it. So we have to really focus on getting to know ourselves, reminding ourselves of how great we are. We are amazing. Most of us, I'm going to say all of us, have survived some things that we don't even talk about. But we're still here. We're still here. God made us different. God made us strong. And that's something to be proud of. When you've walked through hell and high water and you come out on the other side and God is with you and you still walking, that's something to be proud of. If nobody ever tells you how amazing you are, you need to look in that mirror and remind yourself, I walked through hell. I walked through hell and made it to the other side. I know that I'm amazing. I know that I'm a survivor. I know that I'm God's child. And that's how you have to talk to yourself, so that you won't be so caught up in what everybody else thinks about you. And that's been a struggle for me, y'all, because when I was younger, I just wanted to be accepted by everybody. I conformed. I tried to make everybody happy, this, that, and the other, and I was absolutely miserable. And then when I got in my late 40s, that's when I started realizing that people will be happy with you today and be talking about you tomorrow. And so it's not worth sacrificing who you are to please other people. It's not worth shrinking yourself down and not being the person that God created you to be. You will know on the inside when you are free and when you are being your true and real self, because you'll leave nothing on the table. You won't feel like, oh, I wish I would have done that. Oh, I wish I would have said that. Because you're going to do it. You're going to say it. When you really learn to love yourself, when you really truly understand that opinions of other people don't amount to a hill of beans. Because if they weren't talking about you, they'd be talking about somebody else. You know, there was a time, you guys, and this is my own personal story, when I was going through some things with my then husband and you know, church hurt is something, y'all. When people in the church hurt you, when you feel like that's supposed to be your safe space, and people in the church keep drama going, people in the church are the ones that like to see mess going on, and then you find out that you were their lunchtime conversation and it wasn't good. That's some painful hurt, you guys. So I had to learn back then that it doesn't matter if they go to church. It don't matter if they're in the street. Evil is everywhere. Evil is everywhere. And those same people, I kid you not, I have had the opportunity to watch God whoop each and every one of them with the things that they've had to go through in their lives. It doesn't pay to mistreat people, y'all. It doesn't pay to talk bad about people, y'all, especially God's children. God will repay. And when I tell you God does not play about his own, you just stand back and watch the ones that try to sabotage you. Stand back and watch the ones that talked about you and talked about your situation, and watch what God does in their life later down the line. God is not playing about you. And so therefore, you need to not waste your time crying, feeling bad about yourself, feeling like you're not good enough, feeling like something's wrong with you, because these imperfect people with their own mess that they hide and sweep up under the carpet have something to say about you. Your job is to be the you that God created you to be. Anything else, you're doing yourself a disservice. Anything else, you are decreasing your value. Because everything that's in you, God placed it in you. So why should you worry about who doesn't like it or who doesn't understand it? Stop allowing people to have that much say over your life. And so let's talk about the value of authenticity and why it's so hard to be real, to be 100% real. Number one, a lot of times we had poor role models. Sometimes we had never seen a person that was actually themselves. All we've seen is people pretending, showboating, posting on social media, lying, cheating to get their way, just trying to impress other people. Sometimes we haven't seen an authentic person. Like I said, it's very rare to find somebody who is who they are unapologetically. They don't change. When you see them today and you see them down the road with a group full of people, another day, they still speak to you. They still hug you. They still greet you the same way. One thing I always said that really got up under my skin, if I meet you one way and I see you later on, if you can't be yourself, then don't speak to me. Don't come with that fake stuff, and don't act like you don't know who I am. And don't act funny just because you're with somebody else. I'd rather you just act like you didn't even see me and let me go on. I don't understand in my heart how hard it is to just be who you are no matter what situation you're in. But some people, they cannot do it. It all depends on where they are. It all depends on who they're around as to how friendly they are or how much time they spend talking to you. It never fails to shock me just how people can turn off and turn on the way that they do, or that fake stuff that they do. Oh, hey girl, talk to me like you talked to me last week when we're in the grocery store. What happened between that time? Absolutely nothing. So either that was the fake you and I'm seeing the real you, or you're fronting for somebody else. And it just doesn't make sense to me. So some of us had just not seen people who were authentic in our lives. So we don't even have the role models. That's right, status. We don't even have the role models sometimes. And then television and social media for sure cannot be our role model. Just about everything on there is fake. And then number 2, we try to be someone else that we're not. That goes back to that status, Denise. We're trying to compete with the Joneses. We're trying to show that we got it going on too. And at the end of the day, what does that even matter? What does all that stuff matter? What does all those name brands matter? What is all of that really gonna matter? It has nothing to do with the quality person that you are. Anybody can buy stuff. Anybody can look good. Anybody can spend a lot of money. But it's not too many people that really have a good heart. That when they come into your presence, you feel their realness so much that you don't even want them to leave. Because you enjoy them so much because they are just being themselves. That is very rare. That is very rare. Number 3, we become actors because we're afraid to show who we really are because we think that we're not good enough. Deep down somewhere inside, you feel like the real you is not good enough, so you put on a facade when you get around people. You act different than you normally would at home when you get around other people because you feel like you're not good enough just like you are. And number 4, we fall into the habit of not showing our emotions and pretending like everything's okay. And so we just suck things up when we're hurt and we're discouraged and we're depressed and we're anxious. We don't tell nobody. We just suck it up and then we act like we're all right. And then next time it comes around, we do the same thing. Because we're pretending. We're pretending. And number 5, that old fake it till you make it mentality. Now, I understand that to some point, but that's only supposed to be temporary. Sometimes you can't let the enemy see you sweat. You can't let another person see you sweat, especially when it's something that you're trying to do and you know that person wants to see you fail. There's been times when I faked it until I made it, but I knew that was a temporary thing until I could get all my ducks in a row. Because sometimes people want to see you fail. Sometimes people want to have something to talk about. So sometimes you do have to stand up with your head high and act like you know what you're doing when you just winging it sometimes. But that's just temporary. Some people live like that. But that's just supposed to be temporary until you can get everything in line in a timely manner. But there are times when you do not want the enemy or whoever the enemy sends to see you sweat. You don't want to give them that satisfaction. So sometimes you do have to hold your head up and say, okay, God, help me get through this. Help me make it through this. I don't know what I'm doing, but help me step by step. Because I don't want them to see that I'm nervous. I don't want them to see that I'm afraid. Because some people enjoy watching other people fail. They enjoy watching you squirm and be anxious and be nervous. Instead of being that person of compassion, some people just need something to talk about. They can't wait to say, well, girl, you should have saw her. She was a mess. You know, they can't wait to get on that phone or get on that video chat and start talking about you. So sometimes you do have to hold your head up and you got to wing it for a little bit until you can get where you need to be. But that's only supposed to be temporary. So let's talk about how we need to try to get real, how we can find ways to get real, because we've all done this. We've all changed who we are depending on the environment we're in. We've all tried to get acceptance. That's right, Denise. Shake them haters off and pray. That's it. And keep stepping. So we've all done that a time or two, for whatever reason. Maybe we felt like, there was something different about the people, that somewhere in your mind that they were better than you. So you started kind of changing how you were acting because you were around them. But we're going to get rid of that mentality. This is our year to learn to love ourselves and understand that we are enough just like we are. So let's talk about how to get real. Number one, you need to learn to care more about who you really are than who anyone else wants you to be. You know, sometimes we worry so much about disappointing other people. You know, we all have choices in life, and we all should be able to walk our own path without worrying about what somebody else doesn't like, or worrying about who's going to be disappointed because we didn't do what they thought we should do. We are going to have to start understanding that we make our own choices and we have to live with the consequences of them. Hey, Rita, consequences of them. So we have got to care more about who we are than who anybody else wants us to be, because this is our life. You only get one. So let them be who they need to be, but they don't need to be dictating what you do and the kind of person you become and the decisions that you need to make. And it's not about caring less about what people think. It's about caring more about what you think of yourself. You know what's best for you. Sometimes people on the outside looking in try to tell you what you should do about a situation, but you know what's best for you. You know what you can live with. You know the whole situation from the inside out. So I want you guys to take some time and answer these questions I have listed. I've got 5 questions, and this will help you get real with yourself. Number 1, ask yourself, what do I really enjoy? And make a list of all the things that you actually enjoy. Not what your friends enjoy, not what your spouse enjoy, not what your kids enjoy, but what do you really enjoy? Number 2, what do I really dislike? Make a list of things that you really don't like. Maybe you've been tolerating. Maybe you've been going along to get along. Maybe you've been smiling and acting like you like something because you don't want to seem like, you know, that you're making a big deal out of stuff. Write down what you really dislike and make a list. Number 3, ask yourself, how do I feel right now? How do I feel right now about myself, about my life, about my situation, about what I want to do for my future? How do I feel about that? How do I feel about where I'm at right now and who I am right now? And number 5, ask yourself, what am I most afraid of someone finding out about me? What secrets do I have? What things do I feel like if I said to somebody else that they wouldn't love me anymore, they wouldn't want to be around me anymore? You have got to work those things out and get to know yourself. Write those things down. I tell you guys, get your journal and write those things down. Find out what you enjoy. Find out what you don't like. Find out how you feel. And then, what do you even like about yourself? And then, what am I most afraid of someone finding out about me? And asking those questions will help you better get to know yourself. Because a lot of times we go through life thinking, okay, I know me, I know what I like. Sit down and answer those questions and be real about it. Write down the honest truth about it and see who you really are. Those things that you can't tell everybody else. You can't share everything with everybody else. But you need to get real with you. Number 2, we need to get still sometimes and get in touch with who we really are. We can get caught up with all the things we have to do that we fail to be our true selves. So many times we are wearing so many hats. We are being everything to everybody. We're mother. Some of us are wives. Some of us are caretakers. Some of us, are teachers, nurses, you name it. We're everything to everybody, but who are you to you? Who are you to you? Ask yourself that. So you need to sit down and make sure that you're taking care of you, that you are happy with you. And if some things need to change, make your list and start working on those things that you need to change that you don't like about yourself. And then B, slow down just for a few minutes, sit quietly, and allow yourself to feel and listen. When you ask those things about yourself, about how am I feeling about me today, how am I feeling about my situation, get quiet and listen. Listen to your heart. Allow those tears to fall if they need to fall. Allow yourself to get mad if you need to get mad. But be real with yourself. That's the only way things are going to change, is if you take time and make time to slow down and listen to your own heart and be honest with yourself. Number 3, or C, make time for yourself every day. Don't you give everybody your 24 hours and not make time for yourself. I don't care if it's 20 minutes, 30 minutes. You do something for you within your day. That is your 24 hours. You make sure you do something specifically for yourself every day. And then the third way to get real is to share yourself with people you can trust. You know, it's so much easier to work through things that are bothering you if you've got somebody that you can trust. And sometimes we open up to the wrong people, y'all. That's why our business is out in the streets, because we talk to the wrong people. You have got to pray about that thing, about who you can trust. Sometimes you got to test people with a little something and see if it comes back to you, just to see what they can handle, just to see if they really can be your confidant. Because everybody can't do it. They can't hold water. But you need to know who that is before you start opening up and sharing those deep things about yourself, especially those things you don't like about yourself, especially those things that you feel like are secrets that you haven't told anybody else, but you're tired. You're tired of holding on to those things, and you need to talk to somebody about it. And then if you don't have somebody to trust, it might be time to make some new friends, y'all. If you can't trust your friends, if you can't trust your support system, it might be time for you to make some new friends. Y'all, sometimes we stay with people 60, 70 years. I'm just making a big number. 60, 70 years. And you can't never tell them nothing, and you know you can't. But you tolerate them being disloyal to you. You tolerate them talking behind your back and spreading something that you didn't give them permission to talk about. You know, we don't check each other enough because we're always afraid to upset somebody. But if somebody's behavior is wrong, especially towards you, don't you think you deserve to say something? If they offend you, don't you think that that's your right? Don't you think you should love yourself enough to say to that person, I don't like what you did, and I don't appreciate what you did? But so many times we are so kind-hearted, and we are so anxious to get along with everybody. We allow people to do disloyal things, disrespectful things to us for decades. And I'm guilty of that. I had something happen the other day, and it was some things that had been building up. It wasn't the first time this person did this. It wasn't the second time. It wasn't the third. It was probably the 50th. And just for some reason the other day, it just pissed me off. And I finally had to say what I needed to say. And I got off the phone. You know, because we tolerate so much, and then we wonder why people won't stop. People won't stop because you don't check them. People won't stop because you smile and let them get away with it. So my thing, and I'm encouraging you to do it because I'm changing the way I deal with people from now on. If you want to do things and be respectful or disloyal, I'm going to say something about it. You can either change or you can keep it moving, because I deserve better than that. You deserve better than that. I don't care how long we've known people. They should always value our friendship. Just like we value theirs, they should value us enough to treat us with respect, to treat us with the love that we deserve. But it's up to us to make sure that they don't disrespect us. And then understand that real people attract real people. You know, I've run into some people that I've met once and I felt like I've known them for years, because that encounter, everybody was just so real. Everybody just talked. Everybody, you know, just spoke from their heart. Nobody was trying to impress anybody. Nobody was trying to act like they were bigger than who they were. You know, it's rare to find that. And when you do, you just crave that type of conversation. You crave that next encounter, because we are surrounded by so much fake, so much pretense, that when we get something that's authentic, it is so refreshing. It is so refreshing to be able to talk to people and just be able to let your hair down. People that don't have an agenda, people that aren't judging you, people that aren't trying to compete with you. That is rare. So when you have those situations, cherish those. Don't take those for granted. And then next, work on discovering your self-worth. Learn to love and appreciate yourself. You may need to even spend time just writing down your attributes, all the amazing things that you can do, all the things and gifts and talents that God has given you, just to remind you of how amazing you are. And then sometimes you need to just write down all the stuff that you've been through and how God has gotten you from that point to this point. You know, when I was talking to a girlfriend and I was like, girl, 20 years ago, you remember where we were? We were in a hot mess. Hot mess. I said, and look at us now. Look at us now. We're happy, we're healing, and we're whole. And we're independent, we're strong. We're doing the doggone thing. But those are the things you have to remind yourself of. You are a survivor. You are amazing. You have gone through the worst and you still here. You have gone through things that have caused other people to fall out and have to be put away somewhere, but you cried about it, you got up and you kept it moving. So you have to remind yourself, because people are not going to pat you on the back. People are not going to come to you and tell you how great you are. You are going to have to say those things from your own mouth. Say it from your own mouth. Speak it over yourself and remind yourself that you deserve love. You deserve to be appreciated. And then the next thing is, starting today, do something real. There's nothing like the present. Do something that you've always wanted to do. Do something that says, this is my personality. Do something that feels really real to you. And do that and make a habit of doing something that's real every day. And then other ways to get real. Number one, do not be afraid to lose people. That was my biggest thing. I was always afraid to lose people by being my authentic self, by speaking up for myself, by not going along with everything. I felt like the word no would make people mad at me, or I don't want to do that. I don't like that. Those type of things would make people have a problem with me. You do not conform to what they think you should be. You're going to have to learn to not be afraid to lose. Because I promise you, whatever you lose, whatever benefit that person had in your life, just because you stand up to them or stand up for yourself or decide you don't want to be disrespected anymore and they get mad and they walk away from you and they don't want to be your friend anymore, whatever benefit they had in your life, God is going to replace it with something better. God is going to replace it with something better, because anybody that really loves you, they won't mind being corrected when they're mistreating you. But if they can't be corrected, they did not need to be in your circle anyway. And a lot of times we're holding on to the familiar, and those people are not even good for us. Number two, ask God to release you from the prison of the opinion of others. Sometimes, especially when it comes to family members, sometimes our families can have so much control over what we do. And as independent as we think we are, and paying our own bills, got our own house and all of that, sometimes their opinions matter way too much. And sometimes subconsciously we govern ourselves because we don't want to hear it from them. We don't want them talking about us. You don't have time for drama. All those things that we say to ourselves when we're really deep down worrying about what they think, worrying about their opinion. You know, we say those things to kind of justify it. But if you really were free from it, that wouldn't even be a thought. That wouldn't even be a thought. And that's something that I'm still struggling with, is dealing with family and their opinions and their disapproval of this or disapproval of that. I am still working on that at this big age, because that was something that was instilled in me as a child, is wanting to be loved by my family. And what I'm having to learn at this age is love does not always mean agreement. Love does not always mean you're going to get along. Sometimes you have to say, they'll get over it. This is my life. They'll get over it. And that's where I'm at right now, where I'm having to say that about more things that I know I want to do for my life. I have to say, my family, I can't worry about them. They'll get over it. This is my life. And so that's a hard one, because we were raised up to value the opinions of our family members. But that does not make them right just because they're family. A lot of times they're wrong in their family, and they feel like they have a right to say so just because you're related. So go to God and ask God to release you from that prison of the opinions of others, whether it's your friends, your family, social media, you know, whoever you seem to worry about what they think. Ask God to release you from that so that you can make the best decisions in your life for you. Number 3, remember what things brought you the most joy, and try to do those things as often as you can. That's back to getting real. You may like to do some things that nobody else likes to do, but you know what? Do them anyway. Do them if you got to do them by yourself. If that's something that you enjoy, if that's something that's a desire for you, do it anyway, even if you got to do it by yourself. If that's what brings you joy, do it. Don't waste time waiting on anybody else. Don't waste time worrying about people saying that's silly, that's stupid. Why do you want to do that? Stop listening to everybody else and do what makes you happy and what gives you joy. Number 4, you need to minimize the need for stuff and material things and maximize your gratefulness for your health, for your family, for your job, for your friends, and everything that God has done for you up to this point. That's what you need to be grateful for. This stuff is going to mean nothing. This stuff is going to pass away. It's going to get old. It's going to break down. You know, it's going to tarnish, all of that. But be grateful for the things that matter. If you got a reasonable portion of your health, you got a family, you got a job or a source of income, you've got friends. Even if you ain't got but one friend, that's more than some people have, because some people have 1,000 friends and not one true friend in the bunch. And so everything that God has done for you up to this point, practice gratefulness. Don't worry about buying up a bunch of stuff. Worry about getting your heart right and getting grateful. And you'll find out that your life is so much better off. So much better off. God can do what all this stuff can't do for your life. And then number 5, surrender the pruning to God. Sometimes God prunes us in life, and I feel like that's where I'm at this pruning stage, because he's taking things away. He's removing people out of my life, or he's making me lose the desire to be around certain people, because I'm outgrowing a lot of things, and a lot of that behavior no longer suits me. It doesn't serve me. It's not helping me be the person that I'm trying to be. It's not helping me get to that authentic self by being around people that make me feel like I have to change when I'm around them, or I have to be a certain way in order to keep from upsetting them. So God has got me in a pruning stage, and I have to trust him with the scissors. I don't get to decide who he cuts. I don't get to decide, who he makes me stop spending time with, or who he says, you know what, I want you to distance yourself from this person. So I'm just going to trust him with it, because he's never failed me. He's never led me astray. So therefore, I'm going to trust him that whoever he cuts out of my life, that he has something better, that there's a purpose for it all, and that I'm going to grow and I'm going to be a better person because of it. And then there are going to be things that God is pruning us from. Some things that we used to have a desire for, those things are going to pass away because we've outgrown that. We've had our time with that. So now it's time to move on to something else. And some places that we like to go, are not going to be comfortable for us anymore. We're not going to feel like we get the joy out of them anymore. And that's okay. That means God has something better. He wants you to keep moving forward. And that's how you're going to get to your true self. And my final thought, this topic was very personal to me, because even though I have come such a long way, I feel like I've come a long way on my journey to self-love and self-care, and I realize I've still been shrinking myself for certain people, that I feel like are close to me, and I realized this the other day, when something happened. I was like, why am I always trying to conform to keep people from feeling some type of way, or feeling like I'm trying to do too much, or feeling like, I think I'm better than anybody else, so I'm learning to understand that I need to be myself, regardless of the consequences, regardless of who doesn't like me, or who has something to say about it. Because I owe that to myself. I owe that to myself to be the best version of myself and not let anybody stand in my way. Because sometimes people stand in the way of what God is trying to do in your life, because we're trying to please people instead of trying to please God. So that's something I'm praying for, that God, whatever changes he's going to do in me, that I don't let people stop me from growing. I don't let people stop me from being what God is calling me to be. That's right. They are jealous. It's a lot of jealous people out there, and sometimes they're the ones that are closest to you, and you don't see it, and then God starts revealing some things to you, and then you have to remember that God knows all things. God is sovereign, so while they may be able to fool you, they can't fool God. And so, because we all deserve the life that we all have the desire for in our hearts, God gives us a vision for who we want to be and how we want to be. And a lot of times it's so big that when we try to share it with somebody else, they knock it down and make you feel like you're foolish. So sometimes you have to learn to keep some things to yourself. But when God gives you a vision of what your life could be, don't share it with everybody. Just tell God, okay, God, your will, your way. Tell me how to get to where you showed me, and God will lead the way. So this is what inspired me to talk about this topic, because I found myself not being as authentic as I really should be, trying to please other people. And I understand now that I've done myself a disservice, but I'm not going to do that anymore. And I'm going to lose some people that I thought were friends, but I'm going to gain so much more. But I just want everybody to understand that you are enough. You're good just like you are. You can't worry about what these people out here are talking about. Most of these people are not even happy. You get to your happy place. You get to your place where you're satisfied with God and where you're satisfied with yourself. And that way you can always be real and you can always be transparent. And that's the kind of people that make a difference. That's the kind of people that bring joy to other people's lives. And that's our goal. We want to learn to love ourselves more. We want to learn to love God more. And we want to be a light for this world. So you guys, thank you so much for watching. Next month, I've got some exciting things for us. Miss Denise Marshall, Miss Marshall is going to be one of our guests next month, and I will post some things and talk about her because she travels. She's a single lady, and she gets out there and she does that travel life, and she goes to some amazing places. So we're going to let her talk about some things and what inspired her to travel and how she does what she does. But we will get back with you guys on that in June. But for tonight, I just want to thank y'all, and I want you to know that you're amazing, just like you are. Don't worry about who else doesn't think you're amazing. I think y'all are amazing. I want you to look in the mirror and start saying good things about yourself. God has nothing but good things to say about you. Now, I need you to start saying those things about yourself. And let's say a quick prayer, and I'm going to let you guys go for tonight. Heavenly Father, we come before you. We first of all want to say thank you, God. Thank you for another opportunity, God, that was not promised to us, and we do not take that for granted. God, we ask that you just help us to see that everything that you put inside of us is good enough. We don't have to conform, we don't have to compete, and we don't have to compare ourselves to anybody else, God. We are good just how we are. God, help us to be bold enough and authentic enough to be ourselves in every situation. God, help us to understand that because you love us, that's all that matters. And God, please continue to strengthen us in those areas that we are weak. I pray for everyone's health. I pray for everyone's strength, Father God. And I pray for everyone's spirit. You know, these are troubling times that we're in, and I just encourage all of us to keep our hands in God's hands. And when this world is going crazy and things are happening that we don't understand, help us to get back to you, God. Help us to redirect our focus to you, God, so that we will feel safe, we will feel loved, and we will feel covered. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Love you guys. I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye. Have a great weekend.